This episode is peak. The music, the animation, the way it interprets and adapts the manga, the choreography, the voice work. It's peak. So episode 4 of the Culling Games has been one of the most anticipated episodes of this entire season due to how hype these handful of chapters are in the manga. Maki's clash with Ogi and her subsequent awakening, her get back on Ogi, her complete dismantling of the entire Kukuru unit, and the following brutal destruction of the Hei and its members, followed by Maki's fight with Naoya, as well as Naoya's own flashback to seeing Toji when he was a child. It's all covered in this episode, which is great. When I was watching it, I was making notes the entire time. So I'm going to talk about why this episode is genuinely peak, and it's probably my favourite episode of the entire series. It has Naoya, it has beaten up women, and it has a Kill Bill reference. So what is not to love? And I will be switching to face cam every now and again, just so it's easy to get this video out, because there's no point putting an episode review out when the next episode is already out. You know what I'm saying?
You know what I'm saying?
Enough with this yapping, and let's talk about peak. So the episode starts off with an OP, which a lot of people claimed it wasn't going to have as the episode was extended, but we do have the Aizo playing, which has become a stim for everyone that's heard the song. The episode itself starts relatively slowly, starting with Maki going to the Zenin clan, talking with Naoya. One cool thing here is, in the manga, when we see Naoya sat down, he sat next to a piano. In the manga, the lid is on the piano keys. It's like it's not open, whilst in the anime, Naoya's feet are on the keys, and as he's rolling his feet on the keys, it's like in the background subtly. It's very nice. And then as Naoya's, talking to Maki, saying, "You're ugly, you're a bum, you're trash. I used to beat you up as a kid. Do you want me to do it again?
You're ugly. You're disgusting. I'm going to kill you. Give me $200.
The way it shows that flashback is by kind of just tilting the camera upwards to show like the view outside, showing us now you're beating up kid Maki. It's a really cool way to show a flashback, in my opinion. It's pretty cool. Then, of course, Maki heads towards the Zenin clan storage with the keys in her hand. Her mother tries to stop her, and her mother... Holy. So, in this episode, they make Maki's mother psychotic. In the manga, it's almost like she's a lot more modest in how she's portrayed, for lack of a better term, where she's like kind of calmly following the Zenin clan, just kind of taking orders and kind of taking her place as it is in the clan. Whilst in this episode, she is screeching, "What you doing? We're not allowed in the storage." To which Maki replies like she's allowed because Megumi, as a new head, gave her the keys to go in the Zenin clan storage, right? And then we get the flashback to a couple days prior where Maki tells Megumi, "You're the new clan head." Megumi's like, "I don't want to do that. Sounds like a pain." Pretty funny, pretty humorous. And then, it ends with Maki saying there's no place for Mai in the Zenin clan. And of course, Megumi just kind of goes, "Fine," and becomes the head of the Zenin. Of course, however, we then get to see Maki put the key in the lock, open the door, the lighting changes and goes all red and spooky. You see Maki say, "Dad, what you doing here?" And then the camera cuts to Jinichi and Naoya talking about, the plan for Maki and Megumi, discussing the fact that, Megumi has good ties with Kamo and Gojo, and he's kind of like the perfect leader, but they don't like Megumi, so they kind of try and kill him. It's just really cool shots, just dialogue. As I say, this starts off a little bit slowly, but starts to pick up here, where, we see the initial clash between Ogi and Maki, and this is dope. It makes Ogi 10 times more menacing than he is in the manga. The big black eyes, and he's just a lot creepier. This like kind of infinite hall that they're in. It's great. And for the first time ever, we obviously see Blazing Courage, which is Ogi's curse technique. And the thing is, well, technically we don't see like Blazing Courage fully used here. You just see him kind of extend his sword with it. He also uses Falling Blossom emotion. We see like the quick interaction of like Maki cuts his sword in half, Ogi extends it and slits her eye and slits her stomach. Really quick. It's done really simply, really well. Well, not simply, it's just really good looking. The next scene of like Ogi dragging his two dying daughters away is played off like very seriously. Obviously it is in the manga, but it's like it looks so much more menacing, and the way he's just bemoaning the fact that his children are fodder. For Mai, I agree, yeah, she's trash, but the way Ogi is portrayed here is a lot more just intimidating than he is in the manga. And granted, in 5 minutes, any intimidation factor he did have is completely gone because he's going to be in 2 pieces. We then obviously, of course, get into the Maki awakening stuff with Mai crawling over to Maki bleeding out, and they get really close to kissing, and I've seen some stupid posts where people are like, "Oh, it's because they're incestuous." No, stop, don't do that. That's really weird. It's just weird symbolism stuff. They just get really close. Then we just kind of go to this pseudo afterlife where for some reason Maki's shoes have been taken off. We get some cool like visual imagery of like the two of them as embryos and fetuses in the womb, like flashing on screen and stuff, as Mai's basically explaining how a curse technique works, telling Maki she's going to die, but do us a favor and just destroy everything. That's the classic line in the manga. It's great. And then we also hear it like said in like the flashback child version of Mai's voice, which is like unsettling but great. I love it. It gets played a couple times through the episode. It's done really well. Also, during these scenes, the character animation is just nice looking, and like even in the simple stuff like Mai standing in the water and Maki stumbling up to try and reach her, just the character animation looks really nice and fluid. It's great. And of course, the transition between Mai handing a flower or like a reed into Maki's hand, and the way it just simply cuts to the soul split katana in Maki's hand is so simple. It's just a really simple... This episode has some like really simple but effective transitions that are done exceedingly well, and this is one of them. It's just a simple cut, but it just looks so good, dude. It's just so peak. Of course, then Ogi appears using Blazing Courage, and as I said, it's all completely blue. When you see the manga and it's called Blazing Courage, everyone's assumption was like, it's fire. Right? It's called Blazing Courage. It's probably fire. And people went with that assumption for a while. Whenever they put like modded Ogi into Minecraft, they gave him a flaming sword because, of course, it's Blazing Courage is fire. And I think in some translations, it's literally just called Strong Flame. So, like, that was the assumption. But no, here it's portrayed to just be this big blue blast of, well, not blast, but just cast energy around his sword. And the shot of, like, he obviously does the same sort of thing in the manga where he's, like, chatting to Maki, saying, you know, fight me now, you failure, blah, 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 blah. We also see, like, the flash of Toji. Personally, I prefer how it was done in the manga. I feel like it was done too quickly here. Like, you see Ogi feeling the intimidating presence from the room that you dropped Maki and Mai in. The colour palette changes, it gets all red, and then Toji flashes for like a second. It doesn't feel the same way as it does in the manga. It's fine. It's just this shot was like one of the only points in the episode where I was like, that's not as good as it could have been. But overall, like, it's just like a solid 9 out of 10 bare minimum, okay? Don't use that as an excuse to discount this entire episode. It's peak, trust me, right? We obviously get the shot of Ogi chatting absolute wham, just for like the shot to kind of pull out as like he was talking, as his head was still sliding off at the top of his body. Like, it's so good. It's such a clean transition. It just pulls the camera out and his head's already falling off his body. And there's a couple shots where like Maki's still walking away, talking to Mai like as a sword, you know, like let's destroy everything, Mai. And it just cuts to Ogi's like top of his head just twitching on the floor and bleeding. So weird shot, but it's cool. I like it. It's dope. Then of course, after the Ogi stuff, we get into the Kukuru unit stuff. Now in the manga, the fight was obviously the room and the environment was kind of, it felt like a reference to Kill Bill. Like, if you're young, you haven't seen Kill Bill or like a bunch of Tarantino movies, you might not get it, but this entire sequence, especially in the anime of how they've done it with the changing color palette and stuff, this is a big Kill Bill reference. Go watch Kill Bill and like a bunch of old samurai movies. It feels great to see it portray this kind of way, like those styles. It's great. If I were to describe the Kukuru massacre with like a comparison, okay, the way Maki dispatches all these fodder is in a similar way to Madara against the allied shinobi forces, right? The way that, like, at the start of it, they're kind of, like, not, like, hyped to fight, but the longer the fight goes on, the more they're just kind of sweating and crying and don't know what to do. Because Maki and, of course, Madara is just dismantling them mentally and literally. Like, their arms are plopping off. It's great. There are too many shots in this sequence for me to just gush about. There's, like, shots of Maki sliding on blood, doing a 1-inch punch. Like, it's Kill Bill, right? It's Kill Bill. It's great. And like, I think she kicks someone in the groin and their head explodes. It's great. There's another shot where one kind of, not dropped plot point because it's not that deep, but one thing that was never explained in the manga was whatever happened to Keel/Dragonbone, which looks a lot cooler in the anime, even though we don't see a lot of it, but it just the design looks a lot chunkier and bigger here. What happens is, we didn't know what happened to it in the manga. We see her dual wielding it when she's getting rid of the Kukuru unit, but then after that, it's just kind of, we don't really see what happened to it because the double spreads are so like action filled. It's kind of hard to make out what happened to the sword, and we never really find out. We know what happened to the soul splitter because like when Naoya kind of like turns her into a frame, she drops it in the double spread. Keel we didn't know. Here in the anime we see she just throws it and it cuts through people like a destructo disc, just clearing everyone out. It's disgusting. Like this entire sequence, she's turning people into tissue paper and the colour palette changes black and white with only reds being visible. And oh my god, the music that's playing this entire time is this happy-go-lucky la la la, and it paints this like it feels like a Tarantino movie, this bombastic, over-the-top blood, guts and gore fun. It's just a really fun sequence where there's so many cool shots that I'm gushing about it. I'm stuttering because so much goes on and it just feels like a Tarantino sequence, but like because of animation it just looks glorious. There's like shots where Maki will dodge and just like dog eye the person that missed and slice them through the face. She's kicking them, punching them, ripping them to shreds. And the way the sequence ends is she throws one of the swords away, and when it hits the ground, the shot just transitions, like it just cuts and all the colour has returned to the sequence, like the colour has returned to the room, which I think is just just a very, yet again, simple and effective way just to keep you in the moment, keep you immersed. That's great stylistically. Like, a lot of the stylistic choices here will annoy power scalers, which I'll get into shortly, but a lot of the stylistic choices in regards to like just what's actually on screen is just keeping you invested, along with the sound design. It's insane. But after the initial sequence of the Kukuru dying, and you know, she's just surrounded by blood, and the leader of the Kukuru walks in, this tackable looking dude. He's like, oh, are you guys done there yet? And he goes, huh? And he sees all the corpses, and he goes, oh, fuck. And then Jojiro's hands come up from the ground and like capture her as well as the blood that she's soaked in, and just claps, and it's a very cool shot. And as Chojiro's doing this, like, harmonica music is playing, like, it's keeping the tone of this like fun bombastic fight, like, it's so over the top and just gory and brutal, but it's still got levity because of the sound design, despite, you know, what's happening. Like, people are getting butchered in droves. One thing that it's not necessarily an issue, it'll only annoy power scalers or people who read the manga and kind of want it to be like adapted 1-to-1. It'll only annoy those kinds of people, which is fine. You can have your grievances with this episode and the Naoya stuff previously. A lot of the stuff that we see in this episode kind of throws a lot of wrench into power scaling. It's like there was always kind of a debate whether or not anime scaling is different to the manga scaling. Here, very clearly, because Jinichi, Ogi, Ranta, the hair, like, they're all like semi-grade 1 or above, right? So like Nanami level, Ino, Meme, and you see this shot of like Chojiro, or you see Jinichi, and it's like, what the why isn't you trying to tell me Ino is doing something? You think Nanami's doing something here? Like, dog, obviously Kusakabe could do more destructive feats, but like, it's obviously going for more like visual bombastic flair instead of like accuracy to manga and power scaling, which I think is perfectly fine, because they have Jinichi like moving like Prime Deku, like doing some stuff that he did against Overall, like 100% stuff, which looks phenomenal. Take a step back away from the Jinichi stuff. When the fight between the hair actually starts after Chojiro claps, the music changes from like harmonica I was mentioning back to more like Shibuya-esque, like hidden inventory, like like techno electric stuff, which is fine. It just kind of puts us back into like the fight's not over, which is great. I can't overstate how much the sound design does in this entire episode. It is genuinely phenomenal. Another thing here which is kind of cool is in the manga, the leader of the hair kind of doesn't do much, but here, like, yet again, scaling stuff, I guess, if you really care about that stuff, he clashes with Maki, and he like does like almost like a Senbon Sakura kind of like a bunch of slashes appearing behind him, which is kind of cool. Granted, he immediately gets destroyed, okay, but you know, we get a little bit more of him showing off. Maybe that's his curse technique, maybe it's more of like visual flair, who knows, but it's still kind of cool to see. And we also get a similar thing with Chojiro. Well, not a similar thing, but we see like him saying, is this really Maki? And then there's a cool POV shot where we like see Maki from Chojiro's POV, and then it cuts to Maki pulling out his eye socket, like from like where in Chojiro's perspective, and you see his eye getting pulled out, which is brutal. It's great. Then of course Ranta and Jinichi show up on the scene as if they're going to do anything. The thing we see first, I'm pretty sure, is the eyes appearing of Ranta's curse technique. Now, in the manga when we first saw it, I thought it was more of like a visual representation of his curse technique, that he didn't literally have like eyes above him or around his target when he was restraining them with his curse technique, right? But no, in the episode, the way it chose to present it is like, no, there is actually like, he does kind of summon a pair of eyes above Maki when he's like restraining her, and that's kind of cool. And then they literally start breaking apart when Maki starts to break free, and Maki's starting to smile. Like when Ranta's like trapping her, that's when Maki starts to smile and starts realizing this is pretty fun. This episode's made me like Maki a hell of a lot more. I prefer Toji, but Maki's went up a little bit. I mess with Maki a lot more now. It's pretty cool. The comparison I made is like when you first see Ranta's like eyes restraining Maki, it looked kind of like Samura's like owl, or like his eyes kind of like above the city in Kagurabachi. Yes, I have read Kagurabachi. Go, you should read it too. But like that visual looks kind of similar. It's pretty great. Jinichi then shows up. Here's something that's kind of stupid that I found funny. So as Haruta is restraining Maki and his eyes are starting to bleed and they're popping out of his skull, he's like, Jinichi-san, please start the fight. And Jinichi decides to like aura farm and slowly walk towards Maki. Like Ranta is dying like a meter away from him, and Jinichi decides to slowly step forward and saunter over and then throw like one punch man, you know, serious punch or whatever like Jinichi chose aura farming over saving Haruta's eyes, which is pretty funny. But then immediately afterwards, of course, when as soon as Jinichi's hands hit the ground, we get this big puff of smoke, which then transitions into the next shot, which is pretty much verbatim from the manga, with, you know, of course, Maki holding Jinichi's head and Ranta being like, yeah, Jinichi-san, we did it. No, we didn't. But no, you didn't. But it's still pretty dope. We see Maki kind of throw Jinichi's head into the nearby like pond. Naoya appears for like the best part of the fight because Naoya's on screen, the glorious king. The funny thing about all of this, like, it's the same as in the manga where like Naoya just saw all this happen. He saw all the other grade 1s, semi-grade 1s get demolished without Maki really taking much damage. Obviously, she's probably like running out of stamina because she got stabbed out by Ogi. She's probably obviously not 100% here, which is fine. But like Naoya sees all this, just goes, "Don't you have a heart?" He didn't care. He just saw he just saw Maki throw Jinichi's head into the nearby river, and now he's like, "That's crazy." Anyway, projection sorcery. And then as soon as the fight starts, a Spanish guitar starts building up in the background. Like, there's a lot of cool musical motifs in this entire episode, but the best ones in my opinion are in regards to Naoya's fight. Because there's a couple moments I'll bring up where like the music or just the sound effects in the back kind of like play into what's happening on screen, but I'll explain it once we get to them. But of course, we get the infamous, famous, perfect, great Naoya flashback to Toji, right? Seeing him, it's portrayed in a really fun way with like the colours that he used. We see like kid Naoya running all bright-eyed and happy, wondering what the Zenin clan's failure looks like, and it's like bright and yellow and happy. It's like a children's colouring book. And then as soon as he sees Toji, the colour is gone. The sequence itself is fine, but I don't like it when they do it in live action shows as well and movies and stuff, when it's like a flashback where they will just have mega blurry cam a bunch. It's only for one part of the sequence when Naoya sees Toji as a child, where like there's a bunch of blurry cam. I've never been a fan of that. I don't like it, but we do see a couple good shots of Toji with his like aura farming, just dead-eyed stares staring towards us, like towards the horizon. You know, we see, you know, Naoya pummeling Maki, throwing her through buildings, kicking her through mountains. And one thing that I did hear people complain about and were kind of upset about was the fact that one of the most important shots narratively in the manga for Naoya's character in this fight, as well as Naoya's comparisons with like Maki and Toji and how they're all kind of related thematically, is how Naoya considers himself on the same level as like Gojo and Toji. That's kind of a big key part of his character, right? And the way it's like shown in the manga is you see Naoya kind of like staring at Toji and Gojo from the back, pause, but like seeing the back of their heads, right? Like this panel has a very important meaning, but this panel wasn't shown. He's saying the same lines that are on the page. Like he's saying, you know, like, I'm the one that stands amongst them, that sort of thing. I'm the only person that understands them. He's saying similar things, but it's like that one shot being missed out annoyed a couple of people. It annoys me a little bit. For some reason, they didn't show off Toji as much as they could have with like Maki and Ogi at the start, and they didn't show off Gojo and Toji here in this sequence with Naoya, which is a bit of a shame. Obviously, they're still fighting this entire time. It doesn't look bad, bear in mind. I'm mildly annoyed that they missed out a shot, but this entire time, Naoya is still pummeling Maki, and it looks great, right? That does not mean the episode's bad because it missed a single shot. Trust me, this looks peak. Also, people bring up like the Mappa effect, which is kind of cool, but a lot of people were talking about how like, oh, now you can't do damage. This fight kind of puts it in both camps because you see him kick Maki through like mountains and stuff, and it's like he's going all over the place. And Maki doesn't take a bunch of damage, but it just shows you like, it just makes projection sorcery look so destructive. But then it's so funny because like you compare season 3 to season 2, right? You like compare Naobito's destructive capabilities to Naoya here, and it makes Naobito look like a jobber, right? Like, but Naobito is like objectively stronger than Naoya, right? There's no debate around that, right? If you think Naoya is stronger, like a human Naoya is stronger than human Naobito is just stronger, he's just faster, right? But season 3, like this episode, makes Naoya's just like destructive capabilities look like so much more. I'm not against it. I'm fine with these stylistic choices because it makes my goat look even better, but it's just something to take note of, okay? Because a lot of people, I imagine, won't like it. Some people will. I'm in the camp that does, but just keep in mind that going forward with this season, it will just make some fights look more bombastic than they may have been. Like there may be some more ridiculous feats, like in like the Megami Reggie, I can see some stupid stuff happening. Takaba might kick Hazunoki through 7 skyscrapers, who knows, right? I'll bring up one cool shot specifically in the Maki and Naoya fight, and it's when it's just like an extreme close-up of her face, and you see her eye darting around trying to track Naoya. Just a really cool visual. Obviously, the rest of it is just also phenomenal, but I just really like that shot. It's a really cool visual. Then, of course, as we get to the end of the fight, it's kind of concluded with Maki kind of taking a stand, doing a sumo clap, and boom, getting ready. In the episode, there's like a sumo sound. I'll play like a similar one here that plays when she gets ready and she does the clap, and it just feels like, it's not foreshadowing for Mio and Daido, but it feels like it. Getting the sumo aesthetic ready, right? I'm so hyped for that. Oh, and also the sound effects for projection sorcery in like the ending sequence of Naoya dashing is like, it sounds very like video gamey, like game-esque, right? It sounds great. And there's another departure from the manga here, where like in the manga, obviously Naoya decides he's going to speed up, go all out, and try and blitz her, but then he gets a sense that Maki can feel her, like he tries to go behind her, and then Maki turns around and then punches him in the mouth. In the anime, it's more so now he just tries to build up a bunch of speed and blitz her, right? It's not like him trying to like necessarily go behind her, or at least it's not visually portrayed in the same way of like take her off guard. it does the similar thing isn't visually communicated to the audience. It just looks like he's doing something similar to the Flash, where he just tries to build speed by running a bunch, like running in circles, because we get like a bird's eye view of like the battlefield, and now he's just running around circles, going across the entire like Zenin clan, building up speed to just try and punch her in the face. And then Maki, like once he reaches Maki at top speed, he freezes. Like the two of them freeze with Maki just with their hand out, and she speaks at normal speed, just going, "Oh, there was like a trick to your technique, or like 24 frames or whatever." And then she decks him. It's great. When Naoya actually gets punched, it does like this action movie, like almost Jackass-esque effect, where the same thing will get replayed from a different angle. He gets punched, changes angle, then punched, changes angle, then punched, which is great. Another thing as well that I didn't mention a second ago was like when Naoya was running around across the entire Zenin clan like headquarters, like there was like a slow drum roll in the back as he was reaching his max speed. And it was like a 10-second, like 20-second long sequence of him like building speed, and it cutting back to Maki and it cutting back to him, and like there's a slow drum roll building up and getting faster in the back, and then just stops as soon as like Maki's in front of him. It's great. The sound design, trust me. You may not have noticed it like consciously when you were watching the episode for the first time. If you watch it again, which I suggest you do, just try and pay more attention to the sound design. It is phenomenal. Genuinely, it sounds so good. I'll repeat myself, I can't understate how good the sound is here. Then of course, after Naoya being laid out, we cut to Maki just like very calmly going through the rest of the Zenin clan, just looking for her mother, and it's played off in a very creepy way. Like the voice work here is great because it's very casual. It's like Maki just going around going, Mom, like she's lost in a supermarket, even though we know for a fact, at least if you're a manga reader, like she's going to kill her mother, right? And it's like almost, it's very serial killer. It's a very serial killer feeling. She's just going around like looking around going, Mom, where you at, Mom? And then she sees her mom and she goes, all right. Her mother is freaking out, screaming. And it's like, it makes sense now why Maki's mother in the OP is attached and portrayed through the painting of the scream, because she screams whenever she's on screen, and the voice work is great. She tweaks out at the start before Maki goes into the storage unit. Storage unit? Is there going to be storage hunters for the Zenin clan tools? Whatever. And then when she sees Maki, she is screaming and terrified, and it's great because Maki is just so calm and does not care. The voice work here is also phenomenal. I love it. And then obviously just after we see like Maki cut her mother's throat through like the camera pulls away to like oranges, then you hear like a and then obviously blood appears on the oranges, right? And then after that we see Naoya trying to crawl away, be like, that dumbass didn't kill me, I'm gonna live and beat her. And then, Maki's mother comes in with a knife from the top rope, stabs it in his back, and he is annoyed and dies. The episode kind of concludes with obviously Maki taking Mai's corpse away and Momo just kind of finding them and being like, what, Maki, what are you going to do now? Now here's the only thing in the episode that kind of annoyed me. Not annoyed me, but I think it's just like you could have done something else visually with it. When Momo asks Maki, what are you going to do now? Like, because obviously Maki still kind of has like the mission to destroy the rest of the Zenin clan, because there's still a bunch of them around. Like, not all of them were in the headquarters. And it gives you like pretty much verbatim like manga panels or like the manga boxes saying, 21 here units killed. There was no curse energy on the scene, but curse tool. Like, obviously saying that Maki killed the rest of the Zenin clan, right? Or at least the combatants. But the way this is portrayed in the episode is just text boxes. And that feels like such a shame. I think that was... I feel like you could have done something else visually. Obviously, the rest of the episode is like 9, 10 out. Like, it's genuinely phenomenal, this episode. It is peak. But just the ending shots are kind of goofy with just the text boxes. Obviously, it doesn't mean much. Like, it's just kind of just flatly convey it to the audience. And it feels like a serial killer documentary where it just gives you like news headlines or like statistics. They later killed 25 people. It's a similar sort of feel and aesthetic to it, but it just feels like you could have done a little bit more. But I'm kind of, don't make a mountain out of a molehill. Yet again, this episode is like solid 9 out of 10. I absolutely adore this, right? Then after this like final shot of the manga panels, the outro plays and we get the episode preview. And it's the best part of the episode. Why? What is the first shot that appears in the episode preview? Kusakabe. Of course, the episode preview shows us that it's going to be the Yaga Kusakabe and his sister flashback, as well as the start of the Fight Club stuff with Yuji and Panda fighting, which is pretty cool. And the Yuji fight, like, looks, the animation that they showed looked really smooth. But Kusakabe flashback is going to be the prime focus of the next next episode. Not the prime focus, it'll be a solid few minutes as well. Well, it's going to be like Kusakabe, Yaga, Panda stuff, and the Gakuganji fight as well. They didn't show any of Gakuganji fighting, which I hope they extend. I hope they show us like Yaga and Gakuganji actually fighting. I'm afraid what they'll do is just have them clash. It cuts to black and Yaga's like dead on the floor. I don't want that to be the case, but I feel like that's what they're going to do. But that's neither here nor there. Overall, my complete thoughts on this episode is the Mappa effect is in complete full swing here, where it will take the manga and just kind of turn it to 11, right, stylistically. I think that's phenomenal. I think that's great. Power scalers will have issues with it because they're idiots. Like, for example, like anime only power scalers where they're like, oh, now you did no damage, he must be fodder. Where it's like, bro, you clearly shut up, right? Don't ever disparage my glorious king again, you know? But, you know, where they will take the manga, for example, what we saw with Jinichi and Ranta and the Kukuru squad stuff, like, it is extended and just, it's turned up by 10 million and it's done really well. They take, like, Jinichi throwing punches to the ground, it makes it look like Deku versus, like, Overhaul. It's great. Now you're kicking Maki through several cliff formations just to get one tapped in the chin. It's great. It looks phenomenal. As I said, though, if you were to take anything from this video, I will say watch it again and just open your ears, right? Just listen to it a bit more, because it's really impressive what they did. Like, the visual cues alongside, like, the audio. Oh my god. It's so great. But yeah, that was my favourite episode in all of Jujutsu Kaisen. I don't know what will top it. Maybe the next one will, because Kusakabe is in it. But that's all I've got to say. Those are my deals. Obviously, the next one. Peace. And yeah, let me know what you thought about this episode down below. I thought it was great. And if you're complaining about it, you suck. I got nothing. Toodles.